Coach, so it's a little vague, but can you kind of just give us a little background on your philosophy, sort of how you want to incorporate what you have to maybe some of the stuff that they've had recently here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a philosophical standpoint, I'm a multiple balanced attack offense with, a variety of formations and motions and shifts. Really we try to simply, keep everything as simple as possible, but be creative with formations and the adjustments. Really what it is, it's about identifying your playmakers and putting those guys in the right spots and get them into best matchups. And I think here, one of the things that I've been really impressed with so far, and going back and watching film, is the receiver core. With some of these guys coming back has really been impressive. But we're going to set the tone with running the football, right? And take great pride in ball security and taking care of the football. And really, to be honest with you, I've been asked this in the past a bunch. Are you air raid? Are you pro? Are you, and the honest answer, Joseph, is every year it changes just a little bit, right? Depending on who you have in the room and who your playmakers are, what your offensive line is like. And so, part of spring practice is a little bit of discovery mode and making sure that we go out and identify who the playmakers are, right, what the strengths of our offensive line are, our quarterbacks, and, mold it all together.
So a lot of motion, shifts, moving guys around. I've seen where the splits maybe on the line are a little bit wider. And I think you also incorporate the tight end quite a bit.
I do incorporate a tight end, and I love playing with a tight end. And not only in the run game, but in the pass game, and, being creative with those guys. That's a really important part of the offense. So you will see a lot of tight ends. I think the biggest difference and the thing that, we try to separate ourselves is playing with changing tempos. That doesn't mean that we go fast all the time. But trying to not let a defensive coordinator get in the rhythm of just calling play after play after play. I think the hard thing for defensive coordinators is one time you're in the huddle, the next time you're going fast, the next time you might look back and then go fast again, then get back in the huddle. So just the changing of pace, and again, making it as simple for the kids as possible with a bunch of different presentations.
Why was Houston the right fit for you?
I'm glad you asked that. This is such a special opportunity for me. Obviously, I grew up about 80 miles away in Nederland, Texas. My family are, high school football coaches throughout Southeast and East Texas. And, in this profession, you move around a lot. But for us, there's no job closer to home, at this level that we could possibly get to. And so my wife and I, both from Southeast Texas, really a special opportunity for us personally, but professionally, with Coach Fritz, being able to work for him and somebody that I've admired, in this profession from afar, in the way that he builds cultures, and the way that he comes in and has a plan for a program, was something that I, always wanted to be able to do. And this opportunity came, and I was not going to let it pass me by. I think Coach Fritz is somebody that's just a master of building culture, and somebody that I really look forward to learning from and understanding his clear path to success.
Did you go to P&G?
No, sir. I went to Nederland. Okay. My wife went to P&G, and that's a fierce rivalry too. So I played quarterback at Nederland, but I did marry an Indian. So
when you look at maybe the career tracks, Willie started off from college, small schools, you sort of have a similar path. I think we could also Flo was a Grambling
yes, sir.
Player. Does that sort of help in terms of
you
two kind of working together and being on the same page, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, from my childhood and upbringing, I was ball boy, towel boy, water boy, did a little bit of everything, played quarterback at Nederland and Grambling, and then I started in high school down in Beaumont. I went to be a graduate assistant at Baylor. Then I took a Division II job and I can ramble on well, all the places I've been, but the important piece to me was, doing all of those jobs and having the unselfish attitude and not having an ego, to understanding how to paint fields, how to do the laundry, right? All the things that go with the entire program. And I think, the older that I get, I see that it really makes a big difference in your understanding of how the organization needs to be run, and all those little pieces, make you appreciative.
Coach, is there a couple, 2 or 3 spots offensively that you need to have maybe your best performers at that helps your offense go? Anywhere in particular you like to really have a key piece of the offense be other than maybe obviously quarterback?
Yeah, really for us, it's really important that those running backs are able to, understand the scheme, right, and what we're trying to accomplish, but also create plays, right, that we're not coaching on film. They get out in space and they break those tackles, or they make a move, and that's players making plays, not some great idea that I had, right. So the running back is a very important piece, and then obviously, everything starts up front with the offensive line, and just instilling the foundation of toughness, right, and discipline within the entire offense, but especially that offensive line.
Does it help a little bit maybe having Coach Nagavi over here last year? I know y'all didn't plan obviously for it to work out that way, but
yeah,
it helps a little bit maybe on the offensive line front?
It does. It helps a lot, right, because he's got experience with those guys, and he's going to have such a major role in the offense and the run game. I think Coach Nagavi is a great fundamentally and technique coach, and he's got great respect across the country, and so him having prior relationships and kind of know, what we have and what we need to add and the pieces is really a big help right now.
As you get to learn your personnel, specifically let's start with quarterback, for instance, in your track record and where you've been, is there a certain type of guy that fits what you do, or like you said earlier, you kind of mesh the system to them, but for what you have for like Donovan, for instance, how does that offense differ from maybe what he's done to what you want to do?
Yeah, I think if you look back at my past, I've had different quarterbacks at pretty much every place I've been. And some were better runners, some were better throwers, some were taller, some were shorter. So really to me, the biggest trait and the characteristic is the willingness, right? The open-mindedness to do whatever we're asking, right? And the leadership, guys that come in and just whatever play it is. If I ask him to run quarterback sneak 8 times in a row, coach, he's going to have it detailed and he's going to do it to the best of his ability. To me, I like the quarterback room having a bunch of different athletes and guys that have different skills, because I think that makes you harder to game plan for.
Is it important for a quarterback to be mobile more than ever these days? Not necessarily a runner, but have some mobility.
It is. It's important for guys to be able to escape, right? The defenses that you get now and all the exotic pressures and sim pressures that guys bring. It's important for quarterbacks to have escapability and be able to throw off platform and create and extend plays. Guys don't have to necessarily be great quarterback power runners or run, in the run scheme, but they do have to be able to avoid, right, and create some space to get the ball out.
Coach, the offensive line you mentioned, I think 4, maybe all of the starters are going to be from last year going to be gone. How do you approach that with, I know obviously Nagavi, but also having guys that may not have a whole lot of experience starting?
Yeah, no, that's also a good question, because you try to piece everything together with the experienced guys. I think you got Peyton Dunn coming back. We added some guys that have some experience in Dakota White from Louisiana Tech, who career-wise has got over 2,000 snaps. Cedric Melton from Ole Miss, has played some there as well. And then the Jake Wiley from UCLA, right, is another guy that's played 1,400 or so snaps. But within that, the guys that are returning obviously have got a great comfort level with Coach Iman, and I think Caden Bowie is going to be a great player. I'm really excited to see Peyton Dunn. And I'm still kind of learning these guys. And, I've got a page here in front of me, but I saw them work out this morning and was really encouraged with, their athleticism. We've got good size, and, now we just got to take it one day at a time and get these guys better and get them to understand what our system is and what we want them to do. But that's what spring is for, is, getting in and getting these guys as many reps as possible and trying to, generate as much experience as you can.
And do you have a profile for what you're looking for in an offensive lineman?
I like, I guess, the most athletic, big body guy that we can get, right? And I think everybody would say that, but, more so than maybe a height and a weight. It's more the athleticism and being able to move and pull and get to our blocks and have that short area burst coming off the line. So I couldn't give you, I guess I could give you a 6'6", 305-pound tackle that's got a six-pack and, good thick thighs that can anchor down. But really, we want great athletes at our offensive line spots, and we want big guys. Big guys beat up little guys, so we don't want to recruit little guys, but we want to recruit great athletes.
Are you going to recruit Golden Triangle, that area?
I believe Southeast Texas is my area. Yes, sir.
That's your only focus area?
No, sir. We'll all have a Houston area.
You spent a lot of time with Jim
Yes.
in your career. I would assume he's one of your influences, but anybody that sort of, that you kind of mentor,
Sure.
that kind of stuff?
Yes, sir. Yeah, obviously I spent a lot of time with Jim McElwain, and he's got a heavy influence on my offense and my philosophy. But, dating back, I take a little bit from everything, from everybody. And, if you go back, playing for Doug Williams was something I learned a lot from Doug Williams. My first job was Craig Stump, who is now over at Atascocita, but I worked for him at Beaumont Kelly. I learned a lot of football from Todd Dodge when I worked for him at North Texas. A guy that I studied throughout his career in the same, I never had the opportunity to work for him, but Greg Davis from the University of Texas is Southeast Texan and a Port Neches guy that, that I learned a lot of ball, and as a young coach, tried to study him as much as possible. And then Jim McElwain was somebody, obviously, that I was Colorado State, Florida, and Central Michigan. And I took a lot from him. And so, obviously, my time at App State, Sean Clark had a heavy influence on me learning, how the offensive line play. I think he's one of the best O-line coaches in the country and a phenomenal head coach. And so, I feel like I've kind of grabbed a little bit from everybody, and, I can hear all of them coaching me at times, right, whenever I'm trying to figure it out or make this call. And, but, I feel like I've got a good base.
I can imagine being a quarterback for Doug Williams, you probably picked up a few things.
Absolutely.
Around that time.
Coach Williams is a phenomenal person, and we still are close and have a relationship. He could still throw it, back whenever I played too. But he taught me a lot of things, and more so, than scheme, just leadership, right? And how to handle certain situations.
Will you be, in terms of personnel responsibility, are you going to handle quarterbacks as well?
No, sir. Sean Bell is going to coach our quarterbacks, and I'm going to coach the tight ends.
You be in the booth?
Yes, sir. I'll call it from the booth.
Willie, coach at smaller schools starting out, you coach at some smaller places. Does that mindset, does that help?
I think it does. I think just from an appreciation standpoint, like I was saying earlier, all the things that come along with coaching at small schools and working your way up. And, I'm a Texas high school coaches association guy through and through. I was a Texas high school coach, and, just the experiences that you learn and that you gain from small school, high school to small school, college, I think it matters because at the end of the day, it's really, you're appreciative of those experiences, but it all comes back to relationships. And those relationships don't change from Warren High School to Mississippi State to Houston to, or Glenn Junior College for Coach or Central Missouri. I mean, the relationships is what matters. But I think from a experience standpoint, I wouldn't trade it for the world, all the different places that I've been.
Is there a specific scheme up front you guys would like, blocking wise, that y'all like to stick with? What have you gone with, or what do you guys know what you're going to try up front right now?
Yeah, we'll be, mainly an inside zone, outside zone team, right, schematically. And I think one of the things that, you're always going to have some kind of gap scheme in there, whether it be a counter or a duo or a power play, right? But the key is getting good at what you believe in and not trying to do too much. And over my career, I've made that mistake. And I've learned from that mistake of, not trying to do too much and just focus on what we can get good at. So inside, outside zone scheme, right? And then obviously complementing it with, a bunch of different formations and play actions and pushing the ball down the field.
When did you first know that you wanted to be a coach, this is what you wanted to do?
When did I know I wanted to be a coach?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I can't even remember. I mean, it was the only thing that I really ever knew. I think one of the moments that really struck me, and I can remember this vividly. I was little. I was probably 4 or 5 years old or something. And I remember standing on the sideline at Newton High School. My uncle Curtis Barbay was the head coach, and I said something to him like, run the scat, just as a little kid. I mean, I didn't know what I was talking about, but here comes the scat, boom, and it's gone. And just the influences not only from my uncle Curtis. My father coached a long time ago at Bishop Byrne High School, but my cousin Brian Barbay is also a head coach here, and Daryl. And I've got younger cousins now that are coaching in the Southeast Texas area. So for me, it was never anything other than coaching football, and I always knew I wanted to do it. It took me a while, well, it didn't take me very long to realize that at Grambling I wasn't a very good football player, that coaching was probably the path I needed to go. But I really wanted to jump in as fast as I could and learn as much as I could. And some of the best advice that I've been given is, to try to be around as many different people as you can and learn from everybody. And you guys will find out I'm very critical of myself, and I'm always looking to get better and try to find ways to improve myself and learn. And, all of that is very heavily influenced through the Texas high school coaches.
So what's tougher, getting that right play on a Saturday to score, or getting a P&G girl to go out on a date with you?
Definitely a P&G girl to go out on a date with me. We're still a house divided right now. Every time that Mid-County Madness comes around, my son, he'll support and he'll wear black and gold, but my wife and the girls, Kinsley and Caroline, they're purple and white. So we are definitely a house divided during that week, and we always will be. I don't think there's any change in that.
Coach, U of H only been in the Big 12 a year, but has it been noticeable, the jump in terms of resources? Is it noticeable coming from Tulane? I know y'all were well supported at the end there, but is it noticeable?
Yeah, the new facility that's being built is unbelievable, and the timing of it. A lot of people have diagrams and pictures and stuff, but the crane and the knocking buildings down and dirt moving, is something that's been, impressive for me, and the time frame of things getting built. The indoor facility that we got here is, it's got to be one of the best in the country. And I've been at Florida and Mississippi State and some of those SEC schools that have nice indoors, but I'm telling you, ours has got to be top of the line. In the stadium, I had never been into the stadium until about a week ago, when we took some recruits over, and they're showing them around, and I'm getting to see the stadium for myself the first time. But what a great atmosphere, and that's one of the things that I think is really going back to your first question about, why Houston or why it was important. to me, obviously I've never coached at Houston, I haven't been here, but when you watch, right, the University of Houston on TV and you see the support, right, and just the passion of the city of Houston, right, and their sports teams, really also makes it a special place for me to, dive in and be a part of.
Given a lot of people nowadays, like when they see offenses, it's automatically, they want to see the deep ball, they want to see points. If I'm not mistaken, I saw on your bio where your teams have had a lot of success with explosive plays. So is that, I think I answered my question, is that important, but also, are you a kind of guy that likes to take his shots when you need to, and that you said mix in the run game, and then kind of
Yeah, I think you've got to be aggressive, right? And you got to be aggressive pushing the ball down the field. What helps that the most is having a strong run game, right? Where guys have got to come down and they've got to fill the box, and and then complementing it with some play action pass and pushing the ball downfield. I also think you get those explosive opportunities in the pass game, right, with some tempo and changing the speeds. But the explosives, to me, the two keys are the turnover battle and the explosive battle. And if we can protect the football and not turn it over and allow our defense to give us, takeaways, and we can win the explosive battle in the run game and the pass game. Run game would be runs of 10 yards or more, pass game 15 yards or more. If you can win both those, the percentages of you winning the game are very high. And I know that sounds simple and there should be a whole lot more to it, but if you protect the football and you create explosive plays, you've got a high probability of winning the football game. So the key with this offense is identifying who those guys are, right, that have the explosive ability, right, and putting them in the best positions to take advantage of, whatever defense we're being presented.
How much of an opportunity have you had, as of so far, just to look back and see, maybe start scheming a bit and seeing what you got coming back from the guys that, have you had a chance to dive in on tape and see what you got coming in? You're going to wait to see the thing yourself?
Yeah, as soon as I got here, one of the things that I did was just kind of turn some games on and went back and watched some film. And, like I said, still trying to kind of figure all these guys out. But I thought, the Parker Jenkins at running back was a really special player. The Tony Mathis kid, Stacy Sneed, I think has got great speed. Really, I was impressed with Sam Brown, right, at the receiver position. I think the Manjack kid does a great job and is just a playmaking guy, that's aggressive and plays the game violent, plays it how you should. And then, Stephon Johnson was somebody else that is extremely twitchy and just, I think all of those guys have explosive capability. Right, and again, I'm just popping film on, just kind of letting it play. When you don't coach in the same league, you don't know the personnel as well. So it's something that I need to be able to do more of as well. Is just sit down and study what we do have. And that's the hard thing when you come in this time is, and every coach in America has to do it, but you got to identify what you got right now, and then what your needs are, and that all happens in bang, 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 3 days or so, and here's signing day. So, we added some tight ends that I feel good. Malik Carr from Michigan State and Jaden York from Texas Tech. And then that's another room that, doesn't have a ton of experience that we got to work at with Matt Burns and, get some of the tight ends rolling throughout this spring. But the beautiful thing about this offense, when you play in multiple different personnel groups, you're using those tight ends a lot, and you can get experience. It's not just one of them being on the field. But something that I was taught that is really simple is you find a way to put your best 11 guys on the field. If that's 3 running backs, and that's 3 running backs. If that's 2 tight ends and 2 receivers, and that's what it is. But identify that and put your best 11 on the field.
What do you think it is about Willie that's made him a successful coach, from your What's the sort of separation?
You know, in my short time in working for Coach, I do. I believe it's in the relationships. And he's got a clear plan and a path to success. And, you know, there is no second guessing. There is no, what are we doing? I mean, his culture that he builds is right from the start with coaches and players, but it's all relationship driven, right? And, you know, obviously I haven't been around him for a long time or anything, and Coach Wood might be able to answer better. But, you know, I think that's where his culture comes in, is in the relationships and investing in real relationships, right? And diving into the young men's life.
What did you take from your last stop? You know, it's kind of a shorter stint, but just what stuck out there that maybe will help you now here?
Yeah. You know, one of the things, obviously, you know, I didn't have the season that we wanted to have and the ending that we wanted to have at Mississippi State. But, you know, you always take something positive or, you know, from every situation. You know, I think one of the things that, you know, I learned there was, you know, you gotta figure out exactly what it is you want to get good at, and you got to invest that time, right? And you can't do everything. We can't run every single run scheme that there is. You know, and I get caught in it. I'm guilty of seeing, you know, guys running this pass concept in the NFL or doing this. And it's, you know, just believing in your system and what you do, right? And making the kids believe and going out and doing it at a high level. You know, we've had no bad stops. Our last stop, Mississippi State, was a great place, and there's great people there. You know, still have great love for those kids, and you know, same for App State and Central Michigan and every place before. So we haven't had winning seasons every year, but we haven't had a bad stop.
How do you build cohesion with a new offensive staff?
You know, it takes a little bit of time, but just sitting in there in those meetings and really removing our egos from it. And you know, Coach Nagavi's got a great idea in the run game. You know, I'm going to roll with it, and I'm going to listen to him. I think, you know, one of the things as a coordinator that's important you got to do is you got to be a great listener, right? And that builds cohesion within your staff. You know, because the honest truth, right, is an offensive coordinator, you know, you get the glory and everybody talks about the offense, and, you know, you also get the downfall, but it's really the staff and everybody's input. And, you know, Sean Bell and Coach Nagavi and Derek Sherman and Jordy Joseph are all going to, you know, have ideas and have real input into what we're doing. So it's not just me, it's our staff. And I think building that cohesion is having discussions, removing ego, right? And, you know, most importantly is listening as the leader and, you know, the coordinator of the offense.
And you did win a championship at Grambling, right? That was it a national championship?
Yes, sir, 2002.
Were you the quarterback that year?
I was the backup. Bruce Eugene was the quarterback, phenomenal quarterback. You should go back and Google him, and he had a heck of a season. I was the holder. So I like to say if there was a all SWAC holder, I might have been in the running for it, but they didn't give all conference honors to holders. So.
And who was the coach at the Testacita again?
Craig Stump was my first boss.
Okay.
Yep, Craig Stump I worked for at Beaumont Kelly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Take a few more. How many more people do you expect to add from the transfer portal?
You know, transfer portal wise, you know, we're probably starting to slow down a little bit. You know, we filled some pretty good needs with this last signing. You know, we still, you know, may add a lineman, offensive lineman or two. You know, and then if there's some special player out there, but, you know, I know, you know, Coach Fritz and his beliefs, you know, are to still continue to recruit high school football players in the state of Texas. And I think, you know, with the transfer portal, it allows you to, hey, there's not much depth on the offensive line or wherever, to add some depth in at those. But we want to be a high school driven team.
How do you sort of build those relationships with high school coaches and sort of you know, reestablish that trust?
You know, building high school relationships, this stop is going to be really easy. I got my list today of Southeast Texas, and I was like, I know every single guy on here, man. I mean, this guy stayed at my house. This guy, that was my college roommate. This was my, you know, I mean, so that was fun. But, you know, I've also done that in a bunch of different parts of the country. And I think the appreciation of going through that and being in their shoes, you know, where you were a high school head coach, an athletic director, or an assistant, you know, that helps, right, really build a real genuine relationship. And you can talk freely about kids, and you know, you're not going in big timing guys or whatever because you're working in the Big 12. I mean, you know, I'm just a Southeast Texas high school football coach, and but what I have found out is whether that be North Carolina, Michigan, you know, out in Colorado or California, I've recruited. High school coaches love talking to high school coaches. And so, you know, and we've got a bunch of guys on our staff here that have unbelievable relationships in the state of Texas and throughout the South.
If I could go back to the high school driven that you mentioned a couple of years ago here, the Texas High School Coaches Association had mentioned that one of the big topics was how transfer portal was impacting the high school guys. Is that sort of something that y'all feel like when you go in now, you're not mending fences, but you have to, you know, let them know that high schools are still important, even though in the past those spots,
Yeah.
some of them were being taken by transfer portal guys.
Yeah, and I think going back to the high school, you know, the relationship with the high school coaches, it's being up front and forward. The transfer portal has definitely affected high school kids, and you know, there's not as many spots as what there used to be. You know, what you still have to maintain the great relationship of honesty and open lines of communication, because ultimately, that kid that you might not take right now that ended up maybe at a smaller school ends up in the portal, and you know, then the high school coach says, hey, you know, now he's ready. So it is hard for high school kids right now because there are fewer spots, but you know, to me the open and honest lines within college coach to high school coach is what makes a difference.